All right, let's get down to episode 6 of the GLOAT podcast of FoxWolf Live as we talk about May 18th, 2024, Saturday in Kingdom and Arena in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia with Bob Arum, Top Rank, and Frank Warren, Queensberry Promotions with matchmaker Steve Furness and United Kingdom Sky Box Office for the main event of the Undisputed Heavyweight Championship, Oleksandr Usyk taking on Tyson Fury, where we have two warrior tribes going to war, taking on each other for the prestige of Undisputed Heavyweight Championship. But wait, there's more. We have 10 boxing fights in this event on May the 18th. And if this fight does take place, if not, just like what happened in February, they did say that they are going to try to have another match in October, because I heard rumors said that whoever wins this fight will be guaranteed a rematch in October. We don't know if that's the case. We don't even know what the case is, if there's going to be any other things, such as who's going to go down in history for who's going to do this, who's going to do that. No one knows if this is going to be an entertaining fight or a lot more of a boring fight, just like the Vladimir Klitschko and Tyson Fury fight. There's a lot of people that do have their own opinions. And because we only have like a 30-minute, this is a 30-minute podcast, so it's not going to be that long. There is going to be like 3 or so topics I'm going to talk about today, guys. And the first topic I want to talk about is the card. Now, before we get to the main event, we have 10 fights. 3 world title fights: heavyweight, super featherweight, and cruiserweight. We have a lightweight, a heavyweight, and a light heavyweight, which 2 of them are intercontinental, and the other is the WBC silver lightweight title, which is not intercontinental. We have 4 non-title fights. The one that I don't find interesting is going to be Isaac Lowe taking on Hazubullah Ahmadi. That's just not going to be a fight I'm going to find interesting of. But here's some other fights on the card I will find interesting, where ranked number 53 in box rank in the cruiserweight is David Nika taking on Michael Seitz. 12-0 for him, and he's ranked number 63, while David is 8-0. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to go down, because whoever wins this fight is going to take on a good chance to be in the top 50 ranks for whoever wins. It's going to be a good undefeated fight. The light heavyweight fight of Daniel Lapine, he's ranked number 111 in BoxRec. He's 9-0, taking on 9-1 Octavio Pudivitur. Octavio, yes. Octavio. Not from My Little Pony, the cello girl from that, not her. This guy is Octavio, with his last name and his first name spelled with O. So he's ranked number 179 in the world. He has 1 loss in his 10 fights. His loss came against a 10-round unanimous decision against a random dude named Martin Haubin last year ago, and that guy is a nobody. He's nothing. So I just find Daniel Lapine winning this fight. But the WBO Intercontinental title fight heavyweight is going to be interesting, where you have a guy named Ilaj Mazentsev, a 25-3 fighter from Germany. He's 20 years old. He's ranked 229 in the world. His fights in his career and his losses were against nobody. Like, he lost against Tom Schwartz, that guy that would lose against Tyson Fury in 2019. Tom Schwartz was 14-0 at the time for the WBO Youth Heavyweight title, and he knocked out Tim out. They also had a rematch in September, about months after Tom Schwartz lost against Fury by round 2 knockout, and Schwartz won a fight some time ago, just a fight for the IBF International Heavyweight title, and he won a rematch against him. In July, Mazentsev lost against a nobody that was in 6 rounds. So, this is going to be an easy win for Moses Itamo. He's from the UK. He's 19 years old, born in Slovakia. 8-0. There's not that much about his resume I could say is interesting. So, good luck if he actually wins this fight. It's going to be interesting to talk about, but to be honest, I do find this fight interesting. Sergey Kovalev taking on Robin Serwin Sefer. Sefer is 16-0, taking on former champion Kovalev, and Kovalev has been out of the ring for 2 years since he took on somebody that was somewhat in the ranks at the time, and that was undefeated, named Tervel Polev. which he is related to Kubrat Pulev, the two-time title unified fighter that lost against Klitschko in 2014 and against AJ in 2020. So he lost against Chisora in 2022. So yeah, but Kovalev after that, but he only came back from a several-year hiatus since his loss against Alvarez, and now he's coming back from a hiatus and does it again. I don't know. Good luck with him if he takes on Robin, because Robin Sirwan from Sweden, considering he hasn't been in the ring since April the 19th, 2023, and his competition is somewhat pseudo-interesting, but you know what? If he actually wins this fight, considering he still is in his prime, who knows? So two guys that haven't been in the fights for a long time. Let's see who wins. But ranked number 8 in the lightweight is Mark Chamberlain, 15-0, taking on Joshua Aluwasian, 23-0. Consider that guy hasn't been in the ring for a while now, so I will say Mark Chamberlain might win this fight, become his 16th fight. He might win the WBC silver lightweight fight. But guys, the fights are going to be interesting. The final fight is going to be Ajit Caballel, 24-0, taking on Frank Sanchez, 24-0 as well, considering he has one no contest. This fight's going to be interesting because Frank is number 9, Ajit Caballel is number 5, Frank is number 9. So I will say, though, if Caballel does come forward and win this fight, that might bring him into a good pseudo chance. Like, this might bring him as a 25-0 fighter, and he might have a chance to go through. It's not how one of these fighters might lose, because Frank Sanchez has proven himself a lot more dangerously than he has. Look, dude, he defeated Efe Jagba in 2021, Christine Hammer, former heavyweight titler, in 2022. Friggin' Scott Alexander, considering he already had his problems against Joey Zhang a year ago since then, so nothing much about that. So, yeah, and he also was involved with almost killing Daniel Martz in April of 2023 after he fell down into the ring and hit his head off, fell into the ring, and Frank just went berserked out of craziness. And they had to bring Daniel back to the ring only to get his butt beat. And man, that fight was just out of control. Like, 2023 was a really, really interesting year for Frank Sanchez. He's turned to a monstrous person, taking on Junior Fa, that's now a nobody since last December during that famous pay-per-view. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Ajit Caballel. He had his own fair shares, defeating great fighters like Herve Hubiex in 2017, and followed that win up with Derek Chisora 9 months later after that. So his EBU European heavyweight title and champions and such, and his WBC Mediterranean title in 2014 has brought him into the game. He won the Union belt some time ago in 2016 before winning the original EBU European belt. He won it back against Agron Smakiki in March of 2023, which that fight was pretty scary because people thought Ajit Caballel was done for, but he finished the fight off strong, and he comes here for the NABF heavyweight and the WBA Intercontinental title against Arslanbek Makhmudov, and he crushed him. So who knows? This fight's going to be interesting to see these two guys take on each other, but yet again, it might be a Frank Sanchez win. I'm not going to say who, but it will be interesting. But I think the fights that are going to be interesting is going to be Joe Cordina, 17-0, taking on Anthony Kakase for the IBF and IBO title. Now, Joe Cordina already had his title win in April by split decision against Rakimov, and then he got against Edwin Vasquez by majority decision. So that's going to be an interesting fight to see how he'll take care of Anthony, because Anthony is an IBO champion, and considering he's held onto the belt as well. So, and he already had his split decision win in September 2022, defended a year later. And so these two guys, it's going to be an interesting fight for whoever will unify these belts. But I think the real fight is going to be Jay Opataya taking on Marius Briedis. I can't wait to see that rematch. Marius hasn't been in the ring since his loss, so it's going to be interesting to see if Jay can actually win this rematch again and win back the IBF belt that he won fairly against him. So, but as for the fights from all the card. That's about it. I will get to the heavyweight championship fight in just a little bit. The second topic I like to talk about is somewhat hilarious. This one is interesting. John Fury headbutts one of Usyk's trainers, managers. And the first video I watched is Tyson Fury's reaction to his dad. He enters in the ring, enters out the door. He's cheering of how proud he is of his dad, of people hearing him about how he just did something crazy. I think he didn't feel remorse for what his father did. He looks at him and he's just shocked, like, what happened to you, man? How did you bleed like that? It was funny. But guys, you know what's crazy? There was actually a close-up video. Now, guys, there was a lot of videos that shown the headbutt. And I'll be honest. There was one close-up headbutt that shows that there was a camera that was pointing at John. He looks down below where the camera looks at him. He turns around, and surprisingly, Usyk is throwing some somewhat term words on John, and John, out of nowhere, just headbutts him out. He headbutts him from here, boom, like probably from the cheek part or something, or probably from the shoulder, because where he hit Usyk's trainer, not Usyk, but one of his trainers, but man. And the trainer, he ducks and he looks back at him with these devilish eyes of, what the hell did you just do to me? Did you just headbutt me? The thing is, I don't even think he did a lot of pain with him. And there was another camera which showed him walking away from the incident, but he's now bleeding on his forehead. I actually thought when I saw this, I was thinking to myself, oh, he cut himself with a razor blade, because in WWE, wrestlers use razor blades they go out of the ring, they take something out of their tape, like this razor blade, they rip it off, and then they'll cut a little bit off of each other. That's been a common thing for a long time in wrestling. So that's what I thought he did, but I never saw him put one hand on his forehead until someone gave him a napkin to wipe it off. But he's still bleeding when his son Tyson enters the ring. So I don't know. I don't know how John Fury got bled and Usyk got away unscathed for how he got headbutted. It's hilarious to talk about, but man, I don't know. It's just hilarious watching this footage over again, and just watching the footage is hilarious enough. All right, guys. So with that being out of the way, let's talk about the Undisputed title. I'll say this though, guys. Let's talk about Tyson Fury. Now, as I'm in BoxRec right now, this fight, guys, this is going to be hilarious because, guys, this is almost like watching a hair versus hair match. And I'm not, and yes, I am putting it into a little bit of a WWE thing here, because there has been some matches where you've seen hair versus hair matches. Whoever loses, they get their hair cut off. But, dude, this is hilarious. I'm seeing, we have two guys, Ukraine and the UK, fighting for Undisputed Heavyweight Championship. And in my mind, I just find this a 12-round fight where two guys are undefeated. Someone's going to have to go. And even though I'm still questioning this, because I don't know if the fight is going to take place in May the 18th in 4 days from now. I don't know if it will while I'm making this podcast. This fight's supposed to take place in February, but they took a few months because of Tyson Fury's eye injury. Now they have to fight till May the 18th. And if this happens again, I just hope to God, because they did say they were going to offer a fight again in October, but we don't know about that. They did say Anthony Joshua might be the mandatory fight for one of them, but we did heard about a year ago that Oleksandr Usyk said after he wins the belt, he's going to become a soccer player in Ukraine to play soccer with a team and something. So I just don't know why there's information of people saying who's going to fight this if Usyk wins. If he does win, I don't know. It's BS. But like I said before, 21-0 Oleksandr Usyk taking on a friggin' 34-0-1 Fury. He's fought since 2008. Usyk fought since 2013. They fought for decades. And both of them had their own ideals, boxing strategies, and they've won titles. It's hilarious. And it's like someone's O has to go and they have to go. It's like Ludwig Borga versus Tatanka in Monday Night Raw in 1993, where one of their O's had to go. Ludwig won. Like I said before, it's almost like the Brian, Vinny, and Craig show when they talked about that, when Brian said it's like a hair versus hair match. Like, you know the match is BS, but you know when the match ends, someone is definitely going to get bald. And you have Tyson Fury and Usyk. Any person is going to win. So anytime now when the match is over for Usyk win, you might not see Tyson Fury maybe not have hair anymore. So, and that reminds me of how Brian made a joke of how Tarzan Boy might not have hair anymore. So it's BS, but it just reminds me of that. Like, can you imagine if whoever wins Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk for the Undisputed title, whoever wins has to get their hair cut? Can you imagine if one of them is going to go bald right now? Dude, that would be hilarious. Like, this whole face right here is going to go completely bald. No hair, no beard, no mustache, no nothing. You're going to go completely shaved for the rest of your life. That's what this whole thing reminds me of. It's so funny that anything can go wrong. But here's the thing. Tyson Fury has came close a lot in his career. And guys, let me just take a breath for a second and just let me explain this in a normal way possible. So in 2008, in December the 6th, Tyson got his first fight. First round knockout. So yeah. And then he takes on a 21-3 fighter in his second fight, which is pretty interesting, and he wins. And he takes his time in 2009, winning other fights against journeyman nobodies, but yet again, they're fights with long records. But then his first legit fight was for the BBBFC English heavyweight title against John McDermott, where referee Terry O'Connor, when the final bell rang in the final seconds, he grabs Tyson Fury's arm, signaling he's the winner. Now keep this in mind, guys. In the UK, sometimes the referee is the only judge judging the fight. That has been a thing back in the old days, during the 1800s and 1900s, where lineal heavyweight champions and other champions back in weight classes, that the referee was the one to judge the fight. So yeah. But the scorecard, in my opinion, when I saw that fight, John McDermott definitely had 96-94. And other people had it too. People think John won 6-4 on Fury in that fight. And this fight took place in September 11th, 2009. Interesting date. But Terry O'Connor scored it 98-92 in favoring it Fury. So that's like the first hardest, tough fight, I had to say. It had to be for Fury. Now, of course, he would take a couple nobodies, and then he would have a rematch with John McDermott for the vacant BBBFC belt for a rematch. And of course, Fury knocked him out. Like, he was deducted a point in round 7 for some hilarious reason, but he got him out in one round, knocked him down twice in round 2, round 9, and won. The referee in that fight was Dave Paris, if you viewers are probably wondering, but this was a 12-round fight, so there were 3 judges down in betwixt one corner of the ring. So there were 3 judges that night, which weren't Terry O'Connor. And by the way, when looking at Terry O'Connor, I try to find if there were other fights that he refereed. But when trying to find Terry O'Connor, there were some fights of Phil Edwards that did referee and judge Tyson Fury's fight. Oh yeah, and here, Terry O'Connor did judge the fight with Fury versus Martin Rogan in April of 2012. He also judged the fight 3 months later against Vinny Madalone. He also refereed a fight in December that same year with Terry O'Connor. Man, he refereed 3 of 3 fights he didn't referee, he judged 3 out of 3 fights in Tyson Fury's career in 2012. Jesus. And his last fight was against contender Kevin Johnson. Jeez. Is there any more Terry O'Connors to talk about? Yeah, he also refereed Christine Hammer in February 2015. Sheesh. Dang. So, okay. but there hasn't been a lot of interesting stuff about Terry O'Connor since. So yeah, yeah. Can you imagine if Terry O'Connor was in this judging fight for the Usyk fight? Dude, that would be controversial. Whoever knows. But yeah, like I said before, after he won his rematch against John McDermott in June of 2010, he would come out. He defeated a guy named Rich Power that was 12-0 at the time and got him in 8 rounds by point decisions. He went to Canada, taking on Zach Page, no relation to Greg Page, I guess, in Canada. He got him in 8 rounds. Took on a 13-0 Marcelo Nascimento, and he got him hard in that fight. He also took on Derek Chisora, which he was becoming the next fighter of the boxing world, taking on Vitaly Klitschko sometime in 2011 or 2012, but his 14-0 record went down the drain. Fury won the Commonwealth boxing title after going 12 rounds with Chisora, and that shocked some fans. At the time, that was one of his good top fights. I think his second toughest fight had to be against Nevin Pachik back in November 12, 2011, when Nevin knocked down Fury with a right hand in round 2 to the head. He got back up, and Fury got him in round 3, and the fight was over. So that was his first knockout. That was for the Commonwealth Boxing Council heavyweight title. And like I said, in 2012, he won the Boxing Union of Ireland in Irish against Martin Rogan. He won the WBO Intercontinental heavyweight title against Vinny Madalone. Had that win against Kevin Johnson. And then in April of 2013, he took on Steve Cunningham. And we already know what happened. Steve knocked down Fury in round 2, but Fury got him back in round 7, and that had to be the third hardest fight in Tyson Fury's run. Like, don't get me wrong, Nevin in 2011, when Nevin knocked down Tyson Fury, was interesting, but I found that one to be pretty scary to look at as well. People even thought that Derek Chisora was a tough fight for him, but no, like, some of the judges had it 117 to 112, one had it 118 to 111. Yeah, Tyson just demolished him. And then, by the way, that fight with Steve Cunningham took place in Madison Square Garden, so that was his debut in America. But he wouldn't fight again for another 5 years in that country. By 2014, he took on a Joey Abel guy. He fought for the BBFC British heavyweight title again, the EBU European heavyweight title, and the he was retaining those belts. He retained the WBO International heavyweight title he would take on against Derek Chisora. So this was a tough fight in November 2014. And after 10 rounds of competition, Derek did not answer for the bell in round 11, like I said. And in 2015, he defeated Christine Hammer. And then in November, he defeated Vladimir Klitschko, which was another tough fight for him. I will say, though, I don't want to talk about the stuff that happened 2016, 2017 and such, but let's get to 2018. He takes on Sefer Safari. For what friggin' reason? It was a lame fight. He defeated Francisco Pianeta, he was somewhat of an okay fighter at the time. He, even though he lost by a first-round knockout by demolishing by past prime fighter Ruslan Chavez, which, fun fact, he's actually the first and only Uzbekistan champion, 3-time heavyweight champion from Uzbekistan, which is crazy. Good luck for the 2020 gold medalists in Japan. I just hope best of luck for him to win. And of course, the rest of the guy's career, he lost against Klitschko in 2013 before that. So he had 2 title fights in his career at the time. He was the IBO champion. He lost against Kevin Johnson. He lost against Peter Milaz 2 months ago before the Tyson Fury fight. And that was it. He never fought again. The Deontay Wilder fight was another tough fight for him. And even though I did say, like, Tyson Fury had round 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 11. I had 8 rounds favored for Fury to win by 114 to 112. The other rounds were Deontay Wilder rounds. And it was crazy because Phil Edwards was from the UK, and he had 113 even. He drawed the fight. A Mexican judge named Alejandro Rochin had it 115 to 111, which is weird because he gave Deontay Wilder 7 rounds. And it's hilarious because I go to BoxRec. Oh, yeah, and by the way, Robert Taper, him and I must have had the same exact thing in common because we both gave exact round wins for Deontay Wilder and Fury in that fight. He also had 114 to 112 favoring Fury. Fury as well. So him and his and my scorecards were somewhat the same. But look at this. Oleksandr from Mexico and Robert Taper's from America, so he favored Fury. So the judging in that fight had nothing to do with where you came from, is what I'm trying to say. But this Mexican judge gave Deontay Wilder round 1, round 2, which were, well, the first 2 rounds were close, but interesting enough. Round 3 and round 4? What? And then he gives him round 9 and round 12. He also gave him round 8, which round 8 was not a Fury round. Like, dude, round 3, round 4, and round 8 were definitely Tyson Fury rounds. And Oleksandr gave Deontay Wilder the first 4 damn rounds, and he gave him round 8, which was not even a round he won. It's so hilarious. So that fight ended in a draw, and Fury took on Tom Schwartz, as I said before, and he won the WBO Intercontinental belt, took on Otto Wallin. We know what happened there. Another hard fight, and he defeated Deontay Wilder, which who knows what happened there. And they had a rematch in 2021 again. Took on Dwayne White, which was a pretty entertaining fight. And then he had a rematch with Derek Chisora in that same year in 2022. And for some reason, why? Francis Ngannou? I don't know. It seems like Tyson Fury had barely won the fights. Because Deontay Wilder 3 fight was also another close fight that Wilder would have won. Just like how he knocked him out in round 12 in the first fight they had, of how Wilder almost won that fight. He almost won the 3rd fight when referee Russ Morrell just counted so slow. It almost looked like Fury got back up at the count of 11. And referee Russ counted to 8 when he got back up. It's kind of weird that there was no person out in the arena holding on to a Michael Jackson glove counting for him. So yeah, I just find this hard to understand why I believe Fury is able to win this fight. He's been struggling a lot. For Oleksandr Usyk, same thing. Like his first 4 fights in 2013-14 were heavyweight fights. Then he goes to cruiserweight. He takes on some interesting competition. He defeated GLOAT from Poland in his country backyard in 2016. Got the WBO belt. Defeated Michael Hunter. Good fight. Marco Hulk in the quarterfinal of the cruiserweight tournament. Marius Briedis, that was a majority win. Murat Gassiev in the finals was a dominant fight for the cruiserweight. Tony Bellew was another close fight that no one thought he was going to win, and he did it. The Chaz Witherspoon was crap. Derek Chisora, surprising how Derek put in a good effort in that fight with Usyk, which is surprising, which goes to show you of how Fury defeated Chisora 3 times in horrific fashion, but Usyk barely defeated him in 7 rounds to 5, in my opinion. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting fight. His wins against AJ in 2021 and 2022 were interesting perspective. It is interesting how AJ found the work of throwing body shots into him in the second fight, got split decision, and then Daniel Dubois followed suit with AJ to throw body shots, and he got him easily in that fight last year. And yeah, it was crazy. It was controversial, but it is what it is. And so it just goes to show you that both of these 2 guys have their own weaknesses. So my final thoughts and prediction to this entire thing is this. Now, I'm going to make this short and sweet. What I find interesting about this is that each fighter is going to enter in the fight different. Now, guys, I'm thinking to myself that the first 6 rounds is going to be a really steady fight. Not one is going to punch each other or respect each other, because I have a feeling in the first 6 rounds is going to be the same thing as the Vladimir Klitschko and Tyson Fury fight, where nothing is going wrong, and after probably 8 or 9 rounds, something does happen, and then the final few rounds, it becomes Vladimir trying to fight back hard at the end to finish with a bang. But that's what it makes me feel like, because Fury is a 6'9" tall dude, and Usyk is 6'3". So I'm a little bit considered, how is he going to hit body shots with Usyk? Furthermore, Usyk has great skillful styles in his point, but he barely squeaked out a win in 2022 and 2023. But that's the same thing as for Fury, because don't get me wrong, Fury wasn't prepared to go into the fight when he took on Wallin in 2019 and Francis Ngannou in 2023, because he thought those 2 fights were piece of cakes, not realizing they weren't. And yeah, but he knows this is going to be a really serious fight, and he has to take it carefully. So I do believe the first 6 rounds are going to be right down the wire, where one person might not punch each other. Maybe in the final seconds of the round, someone's going to make the attack formation and win that round. But the final 6 rounds might be something interesting. Because you guys got to understand, every time we think that you're about to win a fight against Usyk, Usyk comes back at the end of the final round no matter what. Fury sometimes can come back once in a while, but he can actually finish the fight strong. So each of these guys have to know that the final rounds is what it's all about. So I believe that the final rounds are going to be 12 rounds, like probably a split decision, maybe a majority decision. I just hope it's not a draw, because I'm still saying that. Because Usyk could still win. Usyk could still come out, because even though both Usyk and Fury have had split decisions, majority decisions, and controversial wins in their career, which has taken place a lot, as I just talked about the information of each of their fights. So they do have their weaknesses when it comes to boxing, but their own style is whoever is going to make the first mistake is going to be the end of their run. Because one punch can end it all no matter what. So Usyk, in my opinion, has to take it seriously in the light. You could go for Fury, because even though Fury is somewhat of a Muhammad Ali type person where he can attack his person and punch it back, he can actually trick his opponent, considering he's actually like a friggin' 200 and something pound. Like, he's a heavy dude. Oleksandr Usyk's fights from 2021 to 2023, he's staying at 221 pounds. But you guys got to understand that the shorter you are, the more harder it is good that the taller fighter might defeat you. But Fury can actually throw in some good combinations once in a while. But you have to understand, he's been knocked down 7 times in his career. Nevin, Steve Cunningham, 4 times against Deontay Wilder. Once with Francis Ngannou. He's been knocked down 7 times in his career. Usyk should have been knocked down once, but he's still knocked down 0 times in his career. Guys, can you imagine if Fury knocks him down in this fight? That's going to send shockwaves around the world. Even if Usyk knocks out Fury, that's going to be interesting. This will be a crazy story moment if one of them decides to take the padding out of their gloves and start cheating to throw punches that hurt their opponent, which I hope that won't be the case. And guys, I'm still trying to find boxing footages if there's still sparring fights, because I'm trying to see if there's actual footage of sparring fights, if Fury or Usyk are doing sparring fights right now. Because I want to make sure if these sparring fights are real, because I still find the Tyson Fury sparring fight 3 months ago is fake, as they staged it. I don't know if they did. So who knows what's going to happen, guys, but I'll see what happens when the fight takes place on May the 18th. So yeah, all I can say is, whoever's going to win the Undisputed title is going to be great. It's been a quarter of a century since 1999 since we had the Undisputed, so it's going to be great. If Fury wins, he'll be the Undisputed champion from the UK, and he'll be the greatest to prove himself. If Usyk wins, not only that he's a former cruiserweight Undisputed, but he's also the same thing in Evander Holyfield's case. He was Undisputed in cruiserweight and heavyweight, but that was the 3-belt era. So Usyk can do this as well, like he did like Holyfield did. But he had to earn it, because he had to win multiple belts after belts to win it. He only has 1 more belt to win. He wins this undisputed from both cruiserweight and heavyweight. That right there is history. So we have 2 histories to be in the makings. Anyone can win this fight no matter what. And even though it's going to be a tough fight, it's going to be an interesting fight, because because you have to understand, one fighter has to stay in the inside no matter what, whether it makes sense or not. Because anyone has to understand. But guys, I could say Tyson Fury wins the fight, even though I'm putting my money on Oleksandr Usyk on Tapology.com, that he's going to win in 12 rounds by decision. Whether it's unanimous, split, or majority, it's still a decision. But Fury could win. Because if it is possible that what happens in the Ngannou fight because he wasn't taking it seriously in that fight. Unless if he was declining. Because it will be a tough fight. You have to understand. Fury has been switching up in properties, and he's been in a lot of training camps in his time. Which is actually the reason why I believe Usyk might win, because it depends on the training camps. And then because of Tyson Fury being in somewhat training camps in his time, I will say, though, it's going to be interesting when you watch the fight to the end. I'm a little bit curious to see that this might be a fight worth watching. Because anyone can actually win this fight. Because this is an undisputed fight betwixt two guys that are making history. And it's going to be interesting. But yet again, I can't rule out if any of this is possible. Because you have to understand, like I said before, Fury has had a lot of hard fights in his run in his boxing career since his John McDermott fight in 2009. He's had struggles in the past before he had problems with the Otto Wallin and Francis Ngannou fight. He even took on a lot of good amount of undefeated fighters. Like, he's taken on not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6, 7 undefeated fighters in his career. And Usyk is his 8th. Usyk has barely taken on not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but now 5 if he defeats Fury. So Fury has taken on a good amount of undefeated fighters. And even though there's times you think to yourself his resume is not that much to talk about, it is somewhat to talk about when you think about the John McDermott controversy, how he even went on in his young prime against Derek Chisora and had his way with how hard his other fights were with Steve Cunningham and mostly Vladimir Klitschko, because he had to handle the final rounds because he did cheat by deducting points when he hit him behind the head in round 11. He also did that to Wilder in the second fight. Like Fury is a cheater. He gets deducted points easily. So if he deducts a point in any of the rounds in this fight, dude, that might cost him the fight. Which is also another reason why I believe that Usyk might win, because I don't see Usyk cheating that much. So because guys, Fury's gonna win nonetheless. If he actually cheats on one bit, depending on how greedy the referee is, because guys, if the referee is that strict on the cheating rules aspect, it's gonna be interesting. Because if they have their referee, Jack Reese, being the referee, the man that refereed the first fight with Deontay Wilder and how he gave him a chance to get back up in the 12th round, because you don't know how strict these referees are, whoever's going to referee the fight. Knowing that if Fury does think about throwing some dangerous combinations and deducting points, he better, just to make sure that Usyk has a chance of winning. And we just hope this won't be a dirty fight, which I do have a feeling, but in the first few rounds, like 6 rounds, like I said before, the fight might go by slow because one person doesn't want to mess up. And so I do have a feeling that the first round is going to be a boring fight, but depending on who's going to win is going to be my own problem, because, like I said before, it's not that simple when you have to take on a 6'9" Gypsy King, because I find it hard for the Gypsy King to start ducking his body down, taking on a 6'3", and trying to throw body punches. I just find that hard to see Fury doing that. Like, he managed to do it on Wilder in the second fight because Wilder was 6'7", and he managed to have problems that fight because he gained a lot of weight, and Fury managed to get good body shots on him. But Usyk isn't an overweight type person, and he doesn't make those mistakes like what happened, that what Wilder did. So I just find this to be Usyk's chance. But when looking at it from this perspective, I don't really know, because it's going to be a tremendous heavyweight clash. a massive fight in Saudi Arabia, Eddie Hearn said. And I agree, because it's going to be great for boxing, great for the Undisputed title after 25 years. But there's one more thing I like to point out. Understand this, guys. When looking up the amateur boxing career of both Usyk and Fury, Fury and Usyk had their own problems in amateur boxing. Because Tyson Fury never took on a lot of great opponents in his career, and the fights that he lost against were against guys that were somewhat unknown in the time. Like, he had a good win against Michael Hunter in 2006, and sort of fights of this or that, but at the same time, there's nothing much to say about Tyson Fury's career. And the reason I'm talking about this is that Oleksandr Usyk had his own problems. He had his own problems since he fought in, back in the time when he fought in China, when he lost against Clemente Russo, which was sort of in China back in 2008, and because Usyk has been in the fight since a long time. Like, he took on a lot of fighters. Like, he defeated Badu Jack in 2006. He had his own problems when he lost against Matvey Korobov. I think he lost twice against him in 2006. And I also, Usyk lost arthur Beterbiev in 2007 as well. And other information here just show that he lost against some good fighters. But he did have some good wins in his career. But even by 2008 and other fights he fought that he won were against a lot of fighters that weren't contenders in the professional boxing world. So this is my problem. Is Usyk able to fight against this? Like, he did defeat Winir Peru, Turvel Polvev, and so he lost against Joe Joyce sometime. He did have a rematch win, the Artur Beterbiev, and some other fights before his pro debut career, and so on. But yet again, I don't know what to say about this. At the end of the day, guys, I just hope whoever wins is going to come out on top as champion, and that's about it. So my final thought is 12-round decision win against Oleksandr Usyk, and that's the end of this podcast. So I do believe Usyk might win this fight. He came out from all those losses in his amateur career, so yeah, that's why I'm giving this a win for him. So thank you, viewers, for watching this video, and FoxWolf out.